Australia has banned kids from social media. Now comes the fun part, seeing how kids will get around the rules. Hi there, everyone. I'm Jeff, and this is Plain English, the best English learning podcast about current events and trending topics. Listen right here every week, and you'll learn new words and have some fun at the same time. Best of all, our stories are designed to make you think in English. Today's story is all about a new law in Australia. It says kids under the age of 16 will be prohibited from accessing social media platforms. Kids under 16 can't use social media in Australia. Do you think that is a good idea? Do you think that is a realistic idea? Listen to today's story and see what you think. You can read the transcript as you listen. This is episode 740, so we've put the full transcript at plainenglish.com/740. That is all thanks to JR, the producer of Plain English. Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story. Can kids survive without TikTok? Australia is about to find out. Last November, the Australian Parliament passed the Online Safety Amendment. The law will prohibit children under the age of 16 from accessing social media networks like TikTok and Instagram. It is the most sweeping age-related social media law in the world, and it won't be easy to implement. There are a lot of questions that have to be answered before the law takes effect later in 2025. Before we get into the specifics of Australia's new law and its challenges, let's take a look at the existing age-related laws and regulations related to social media use. In much of the world, social media apps set a minimum age of 13. That aligns with a law in the United States that prohibits companies from collecting personal data from children under the age of 13 without parents' consent. But some countries have stricter laws. Europe has a patchwork of different rules. Germany, Ireland, and the Netherlands also set the minimum age at 13. Austria, Italy, and Spain set it at 16. In France, children under 15 must have parental consent to join a social media platform. In those countries, parents may upload their identification or respond to an email to prove they have legal guardianship and to give their children permission to access the platforms. Elsewhere in the world, country laws tend to mimic the U.S. baseline of 13, and in most countries, including the U.S., enforcement is weak. Platforms ask new users for their birthdays with the year. And if a user enters a birthday that is more than 13 years in the past, well, congratulations, you're a member. In other words, it's not hard to get around the age verification system. Surveys bear this out. One survey from Australia said that 84% of children between the ages of 8 and 13 have used a social media app before. But Australia's new law is a big step. The platform's minimum age of 13 is company policy, not a country law. And most laws in other countries are about getting parental consent, about collecting private data. No country has banned users from the platforms based on their age until now. Why did Australia take this step? The primary rationale is to protect children from the perceived harms of social media. We've all heard the list: cyberbullying, exposure to inappropriate content, and mental health issues. One advocate for the law said that social media platforms expose children to the challenges of the adult world when they don't yet have the tools or emotional maturity to deal with those issues. But there's also a general unease with the changing face of childhood, that there's less time outside, less time connecting in person, and much, much more time in front of a screen. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese put it this way. He said, "I want children to have a childhood. I want them to engage with each other." Not everyone agrees. Opponents of the law point out that young people use social media to build friendships, learn new things, and communicate with people important to them. Some even build businesses on the platforms. One teenager started an online news platform on social media. His business wouldn't be possible under the new law. Like it or not, he said, social media is part of people's daily lives. There are also important questions about government overreach. Critics of the law say that this is an unfair restriction on teens' freedom to communicate and live their lives the way they want. They also say that it's not a government's role to determine what childhood should be like. That should be up to parents and kids, they say. As with every sweeping government action, there is also the possibility of unintended consequences. If kids are banned from social media platforms, will they turn off their devices and go outside to climb trees or play football in their free time? Or will they find a way around the new rules, a way that might be worse than staying on the big platforms? We'll find out. But one thing is for sure. A broad coalition supports the new measure. The law passed the lower house of Parliament 102 to 13, and it passed the Senate by 34 to 19. All Australian states and territories also approved complementary legislation. A recent poll showed 77% of the Australian public supports the law. Call me skeptical. I really don't think this is going to work. Something tells me the kids will be smarter than the adults, when it comes to finding ways around the rules. The Prime Minister's comments, "I want kids to have a childhood." In my opinion, this is a noble sentiment, but kids are having a childhood. It's just different today. I'm not saying I like it better. I'm just saying it's different. I don't think I would want to be a kid today. But that's what everyone says when the world changes, right? Well, Thursday's episode will also be about this law. We'll talk about how the social media platforms will verify users' ages and what counts as a social media platform. This is not as straightforward as it may seem. That's coming up on Thursday. But for now, it's time for us to say goodbye. This has been episode number 740, so you can find the full transcript at plainenglish.com/740. And remember, the transcript also includes translations into 9 languages. It's really cool. You just tap on a highlighted word and it shows you the translation, so you don't have to stop the audio and look up a word. Or worse, you don't have to be confused. plainenglish.com/740 is where you can get the good stuff. See you on Thursday. Listen up if you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, or Turkish. One of the most frustrating things about listening and reading in a second language is being confused by unfamiliar words or phrases. When you listen to plain English, or when you read the transcript, you probably encounter some words you don't know. When that happens, you have a few options. You can stop the audio, go look up the definition, then return to the episode, find your place, and press play again, but that's exhausting. Or you can just skip it and be confused. That's no fun either. But what if you could see the translation of the word into your language instantly without having to stop the audio, without having to look anything up? Well, you can at plainenglish.com. For each episode, we translate about 100 words and phrases from English to 9 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, and Turkish. And we highlight those words in blue. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the highlighted word and you'll see the translation instantly. It works great on mobile too. It really makes listening a lot more satisfying, and it's a great way to expand your vocabulary in English. The best way to see these translations is to sign up for a free 14-day trial at plainenglish.com. During your trial, you can read as many transcripts as you like, all with the translations into your language. So sign up for your free trial today at plainenglish.com.